Good evening, and a very warm welcome to all the delegates to this pre-workshop CME arranged by Department of Urology, KPC Medical College. Myself, Dr. Anurag Chatterjee, I am an assistant professor in the Department of Urology, KPC Medical College. It's a pleasure and honor to host all the delegates, and I especially want to thank the senior faculties who managed their time and attended this CME. Now, before going into the main lectures by Parikh sir, I just want to throw a little light to this relatively young department of us. We are only three faculties. We are only three faculties in our department, Pushkar sir, me and Devashish da, and Kostov. So arranging this kind of workshop, even few months back, was a daydream for all of us. It took us a Herculean effort to arrange this, because even a few months back, we were just thinking then how to take the next step ahead. Because in our department, we do the regular endo-uro cases and lab uro. But to prove our department in an academic forum, it was the next step. So we sat and we planned this workshop. And let's see how it goes in the next 36 to 48 hours. And I want to specifically thank Parikh sir for taking his time and flying back here, because whenever RIRS, this word comes in our country, that he is among the top three, I think. And so I was going through his Facebook page. I think sir attended more than 5 workshops in last 2 months. So this is an honor, sir, to host you here. And I specifically want to thank Pushkarda also because of his endless energy. He arranged everything single-handedly, and this workshop is totally, I dedicate everything to him because he has done from zero to everything for this department, whatever we are doing. Next, I want to call upon Pushkarda for telling the next plans and whatever we are planning in the next 36 hours.
Thank you, Anurag. Without you all, I couldn't have dreamt of materializing this workshop. Thank you, Dr. Parikh, for taking your time from your busy schedule to come to Kolkata. And this is his first visit to Kolkata, so we are proud to host him. So, a brief about tomorrow's workshop. So, respected senior urologists, the luminaries of Bengal urology, teachers, my fellow urologists and junior urologists, it's my pleasure to introduce today today's CME and tomorrow's live operative workshop on RIRS. It's a great honor to have Dr. Parikh, a doyen of endourology among us. The engaging session will feature insightful videos and live demonstration of RIRS procedures. We have arranged for 9 cases tomorrow, which includes introductory cases of upper calyceal small calculus, to multiple calculus, medium-sized calculus, to unique ones like diverticular stone. In our armamentarium, we have holmium laser and thulium fiber laser, flexiscope from Richard Wolf, digital scopes from Pushen and Biorad, and sheaths and baskets of different size and types to be demonstrated. So let's witness Dr. Parikh and other skilled surgeons perform RIRS procedures in real time, broadcasted directly from the operating room. This unparalleled opportunity allows us to observe the procedure as it unfolds, ask questions, and gain insights from the surgeons themselves. Seniors can give their valuable inputs live, and we request you all to be present in the workshop tomorrow. Unique RIRS videos will be telecasted in between cases. Let's get ready to witness this cutting-edge insights and techniques in action as we explore the world of RIRS together. Our guest faculty, Dr. Kandab Parikh, needs no introduction. Sir is the director of Marengo SIMS Hospital, Ahmedabad. He is the founder secretary of Gujarat Urological Society. He was a past president of West Zone Urology Society and council member of Urology Society of India. His areas of interest is endourology, particularly RIRS. He has conducted RIRS workshops and talks nationally and internationally. He also runs training courses on RIRS at Minimal Access Surgery Training Institute, Ahmedabad. And he is the mentor of RIRS at IMUST and Euromed. So without further delay, I would request Professor Dr. Deka to be one of the chairpersons and Dr. P.K. Mishra sir to be one of the chairpersons. Sir, please. And I request Dr. Parekh to start his speech.
So, to this today's deliberation, if you can give a casual look at the stone surgery that was performed globally, you can understand the graph of RIRS is jumping over everything else, at the cost of ESWL definitely, at the cost of PCNL also. So, it is imperative for everybody who is thinking of practicing endourology to master this surgery. I believe without much ado, we'll listen to the doyen, Dr. Parekh, please.
Let me thank the organizers. I just happened to visit Kolkata and came to know about the workshop, and Dr. Parekh is here. So I made it a point to come here, and I thank you for asking me to chair this meeting. And everybody knows Dr. Parekh, he have already elaborated his biodata. I met him several times, and he came to Guwahati also. Twice, I think.
Twice, yeah.
Yeah. So everybody knows him, and he is a pioneer in RIRS, and we have many things to learn from him. So let us listen to him. Thank you all.
Good evening, namaskar. First of all, I'm really thankful to all the senior persons, the chairman and the very senior faculty sitting there for coming here on Saturday evening. I was not expecting very senior people to come. I thought that there will be many juniors here, but I can see most of the people are very senior, and so I'm indeed thankful to them, and thankful to Dr. Pushkar and his team to invite me here. It's indeed a great pleasure. As we all know, the treatment of renal stone is based on three important pillars. It all started with ESWL. It came in a big bang way, but the number of ESWLs are, as correctly said by the chairman, is decreasing. Because ESWL, though it is a non-invasive procedure, but it has got its own limitations. PCNL is practiced for almost every size of the renal stone. And it is practiced and it is mastered by most of our Indian urologists. I must say that we are doing fantastic job, and I think probably we are doing the highest number of stone cases also. And all of you are master in PCNL. But PCNL has its own problem. Like, it all starts with the puncture. And then there may be some morbidity or complications related to PCNL, or sometimes occasionally a mortality is also reported with following PCNL. So RIRS graph is picking up all across the world. In the Western world, for the stone less than 2 centimeter size in size, nobody wants a puncture in the kidney, unless and until it is not possible to do RIRS. Most of the people perform RIRS. Similarly, in India also, the fever is catching up. So I have done many workshops. Almost today morning I was discussing with Dr. Pushkar that for coming 2 months, almost every Saturday, Sunday I'm flying somewhere in India and outside India for conducting workshop on RIRS. So there is a lot of interest among the urology community about the RIRS. So tomorrow, as Dr. Pushkar said, that we are going to have a live case. I thought, supposing if I show how to do RIRS, probably it will be a repetition. So I thought that if you wish, I'm open to anything, because I want this session to be interactive rather than one monologue. do we really discuss about lasers? Because it is very, very important. People are still confused. One has to use holmium laser or thulium fiber laser, holmium low power or high power, and what are the parameters and what are the practical points when you buy a laser, when you use a laser. So if you wish, I can talk about laser because I have got all the presentations, whatever you can say, I can present. And so I think house is open, please opine, because I thought that we will discuss about laser, but there may be a little bit of theory in it. I'm not going to go much into the basics of laser, but the practical aspect of the laser. So would you like me to talk about laser? Okay, fine. And can I know that, I think most of you are doing RIRS. What are the questions you have in your mind about the laser? So I will incorporate while I'm talking. So I have nothing prepared myself that this is how I'm going to speak. Then I will try to cover all the questions you have in your mind. So there won't be any repetition once I finish my talk. Yes, sir.
One question that strikes the mind of the units who are going to acquire a laser. Which laser to buy?
Okay, so first question is that which laser to buy, holmium or thulium fiber laser, and if it is holmium low power or high power, fine, fantastic. Then what are the other questions? So I will cover everything in my talk when I am speaking, so I exactly know what you want to know. About the settings, okay. Choice of laser depending on the location of the stone, okay, correct? Sorry, come again? Dusting or fragmentation, okay.
And also size of the stone and the location of the stone.
Location of the stone, okay, correct,
Yeah,
sir.
what type of laser will be best?
Okay. Use of access sheet, okay, fine. Anything else about the laser or anything? The rest of the questions about RIRS, I think you can ask me after I finish it. But regarding laser, if you have any question, and if I'm going too theoretical, please stop me, because sometimes I don't know, because I'm talking to a urologic crowd, so they really need a substance in the talk. If it was a general surgeon, or if it was a general practitioner, or if it was a lay person, my talk would have been totally different, or even the students. But I see many senior people here, so I just thought that this will be very appropriate, because it's like buying a car. You buy a good car, but you don't know how to use the car, you will not use most of the features. Similarly, if you could have iPhone, the latest model, but most of us are using only to make a call, do a WhatsApp, maybe see on Facebook, and maybe send some message. That's all we do with the most expensive, or we take some pictures. But there are many features of iPhone or Samsung or whatever. So are we really using it at its maximum so that it can give you the most desired output? So I will try to do that, okay, during my talk. So let's start. As I said, that whenever there is a stone and your intention should be a complete clearance of the stone. That is the primary thing when you manage a stone. That's what we want. Patient will be happy, patient will pay you money for that. So whenever we see a stone, either we make a dust when we do RIRS, or we can do a fragmentation as the question was asked. Right? So now I'll see that I will tell you about how laser can be used to do either of dusting or fragmentation, and what I do in my practice. So first of all, before I start, I would like to dedicate this talk to Professor P. Venugopal, who recently passed out. And I had an opportunity to meet him a few months back when they invited me to Manipal Medical College for a guest lecture. And that time I went to his house, and he came at this age, though he was not keeping good, he came to listen to my talk. Almost for 2 hours he was with us. And I presented him my coffee book on RIRS. I think some of you have this book with you. So I presented him. So I have got very fond memory of Professor Venugopal. So before I start, I thought he was not my teacher, but he was a teacher of almost everybody. And we have distant learning from him. So I pay my tribute to him. And secondly, of course, I pray, I always dedicate my talks to my mentor, my friend, my philosopher and guide, Professor Oliver Texture. I had an opportunity to learn a lot of things from him, personally as well as by listening to his talk in many conferences, even on YouTube, some videos on YouTube. So Dr. Traxler, I remember you at this moment. And today morning when I came, as I said, that I was first time I was I visited Kolkata, and I never knew Pushkar. But when he called me some time back and he wanted to keep it in the last week of August, probably this workshop, and I was traveling, so I said that I cannot. So he said that, sir, we are changing the date, and he kept it on 5th August. And I immediately grabbed the opportunity to visit this beautiful city of joy that is Kolkata. It's fantastic city. I am really happy. Whatever I could see, I really enjoyed. And I had very young boy Arnav who was with me, and he briefed me about the city a little bit. So thank you Arnav for giving me a lovely company. So the laser, this is a light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. And the credit goes to Albert Einstein, who did a lot to popularize laser and lot into invention of the laser. Now, today we are going to talk about holmium and thulium laser. So, Theodor Cleve, a mineralogist from Sweden, identified two substances. One, a brown substance, which he called holmium, the holima being a Latin name of Stockholm. And he also identified a green substance, he called it as thulium, after the Thule being a Greek name of Scandinavia. So he is a mineralogist who identified these two substances. And so now we have got a holmium laser, which is a low power, holmium laser, which is a high power, or a thulium fiber laser, which is a new blue-eyed boy knocking the door of urology practice. So let's understand something about the holmium laser. In holmium laser, there is an energy source. Once the energy is produced, it is transmitted by the laser fiber to the target organ, and target organ could be either stone or a soft tissue. So if you open the box, this is how it happens. There are two lenses there is a cavity in the box. So in the cavity, there are two mirrors. This is one mirror, this is another mirror. I am just simplifying it for you. And then there is a lasing media. And this lasing media, energy is pumped by external source. That is the electricity, that there is a energy which is being pumped. So now if you open the machine, this is what is there inside the machine, because you might not have the machine which is opened up. This is a Quanta 35 watt laser which we opened to see what exactly it is. So these are the two refractile mirror. This is a high, this is one mirror, and this is a partially refractile mirror. There are two mirrors. In the center, there is a YAG crystal which is doped by holmium. So this is a holmium YAG crystal here. And then there is a cooling device inside, because it is pumped by the energy or the electricity, and it is carrying lot of heat. So you need to do a cooling with this machine. And once the laser is produced, it can come out of this to the aperture. And there you are connecting your surgical laser fiber. So this is an external source. Now, so in the box, this is how it is. Okay. Now, if you have got a high power, low power laser, there is only one cavity. And if you have got a high power laser, there are multiple cavities within that box. And because there is a lot of electricity which is generated, heat generated within the machine, you need to have a cooling device. And that's why this machine becomes very, very bulky. Holmium laser machines are very bulky, because there is a lot of energy being, the heat which is generated inside. So you need a cooling. And that's why these high power lasers are very, very bulky laser. What is the difference between the low power and the high power? The difference is of frequency. There are three parameters. We'll touch upon these three parameters later on. One is the energy, which is measured in joule. Second parameter is a frequency, which is measured in hertz. And the third parameter is a pulse duration, which is measured in microseconds. So if you multiply energy with the frequency, it gives you total watt, power. So it is when you say this 35 watt, so total energy which is produced, the power generated by this machine is 35 watt. If it is 120, it is 120. But how it is 35? You have to multiply energy which is measured in joule. Even with the low power machine, 35 watt, you can go up to 6 joules. And when it is a high power laser, you can go to 6 joules. So there is no difference. But the difference is of the frequency. With the low power laser, you cannot exceed your frequency beyond 20. While in case of high power laser, you can increase the frequency up to 80. So now what happens, how the laser energy can do either a fragmentation or a dusting of the stone. So this is a ureteroscope you can see here, a flexible ureteroscope, and you can see a laser fiber. And we are using a water as a conducting media. So once the laser energy is emitted from the tip of the laser fiber, there is a heating of the water. Heating of the water will produce a bubble. This is known as a Moses effect. This was described way back in 1987. This is Moses effect. It's a production of a bubble. This bubble expands and then collapses. When it collapses, it will produce acoustic shock waves. And these acoustic shock waves can hit the stone like a lithotripsy, and it can produce a fragmentation of the stone. This is how the holmium energy acts. But before this bubble collapses, some amount of energy passes through this water bubble and then reach to the stone, and then it can cause the heating of the stone. When the stone, there is heating of the stone, there is a further fragmentation or dusting which is produced. So this is how the holmium laser energy act on the stone. So either you can produce a dust or you can produce a fragmentation. So basically it is a photothermal effect which is responsible for the dusting or the fragmentation of the stone, but at the same time there is a photomechanical, that is an acoustic wave which can also produce a fragmentation and dusting, and there could be some kind of a photochemical effect also. But because there is an expansion of the bubble and the bursting of the bubble, there is a retropulsion which is produced by the holmium laser. Because it is produced by, there is a retropulsion, the efficient amount of energy is not delivered to the stone. And that is the reason the holmium laser sometimes becomes less effective. And it is time consuming. So these are the three problems with the holmium laser. Why we are discussing about other lasers? Because holmium laser is introduced way back in 1993 for a stone management. Now why we are looking at another option? So these are the three problems with the holmium laser. So to circumvent this, there are holmium laser, there came a high power laser with the pulse modulation technology. The pulse modulation technology which was introduced by Luminous, which is known as a Moses effect, right? It's a high power laser which there is a pulse modulation in order to circumvent these three problems. And similarly, Quanta came out with a virtual basket and vapor tunnel technique. So these are the two main companies, that's why I'm naming these two companies, okay? And then there came a TFL, a new concept was introduced. So now what is Moses effect? I just want to tell you about, I think most of you know what is, how does the name Moses came. Moses was an ancient sage who he had a lot of people who are following, like many Babas here, they have their own group of people who are supporting or believing in Moses. Now the enemies were trying to kill all these supporters or the believers, so they prayed to Moses one day, and they almost reached to the seashore. At that time, this is what happens. These are all his disciples. They are praying Moses to save them. So Moses, in fact, prayed God, and then there was a separation of the sea. You can see there is a separation of the sea, and all these disciples, they ran away. They reached on the opposite side, and then the sea water came. So all the enemies were actually, they were taken away by the sea water. So that's how they protected. So this is a Moses, this is where the Moses name came for the Moses technology. So this is what happens when there is a Moses bubble. I can show you. The one you are seeing here is a regular holmium laser, and this is a Moses bubble. You can see the bubble, there is a bubble passing through, the energy passing through the bubble. So there is a separation of the bubble. So in a simplified manner, I can say that pulses are produced by in such a way that they are sequential pulse. So once pulse is formed, it produces the bubble, but immediately there is another gush of pulse, and then it can pass through that particular bubble before it blasts. So there is a clear way, because it passes through the bubble. There is no water, so there is no heating of the water. So large amount of the energy is delivered to the stone. So this is Moses effect. And because there is most of the energy is directly reaching to the stone, there is a photothermal effect, and less energy is produced by that acoustic effect, so there is a less retropulsion. I think this is clear to you. Any question regarding this? What is Moses effect? So this is a Moses effect, okay? And this is a Moses effect patented by the Luminous, okay? So they called it a Moses technology rather. Similarly, if you want to see clinically, this is what happens. With regular laser fiber, holmium energy, that will push the stone. So there is a lot of retropulsion. But now when you have got a Moses technology, you can see there is no retropulsion of the stone. The stone stays there. And that's why, because there is an efficient fragmentation, the procedure becomes speedy. This is in order to prevent problem of retropulsion and the time consumption. Similarly, Kolkata came out with the virtual basket technology. Now here you can see this is the lower down is a normal pulse. The lowermost is a normal pulse. The bubble is formed, it blasts. So again it is like a regular laser, a holmium laser. But when it comes to the vapor tunnel, you can see here, you will very well see this bubble is formed, and it is formed in a tunnel shape. And from that tunnel, when this bubble blasts, it will produce such a pressure that it will act like a basket, and it will pull the stone towards the fiber. So that's why it is known as a virtual basket. As if you are holding the stone in a basket, here the pressure is generated in such a way that the bubble, when it blasts, it grabs the stone towards the laser fiber. It brings the stone towards the laser fiber. So this is a virtual basket technology by the Kolkata. And here you can see that I am breaking the stone hardly moves. But this is possible only and only with this high power laser with the pulse modulation technology. So why do we need a thulium fiber laser now? Because we want something which can blast the stone or which can fragment speedily. There is a minimum retropulsion. And secondly, when you fragment the stone, you have to take out the stone fragments. So you have to have a laser which can produce a very fine dust. Dust is a dust, okay? When you produce, we'll try to produce a dust tomorrow and you will see it. That dust has to be a fine dust like a sand. Absolutely like a sand. And the diameter, as per the description by Dr. Ureteroscopy, should be 200 micron. So it should be very, very fine dust. Then you don't need to take it out. Of course, there are a lot of researches are going on to suck this stone, the dust out post-operatively, so that there is a complete clearance on table. And I think very soon we will have a ureteral access sheath with the suction device. We will have the suction application through the scope only. So through the accessory channel, all the dust will be sucked out. So this is going to come in, I think maybe in a year or two, in a big way. So let's understand what is thulium fiber laser. In thulium fiber laser, it's not a thulium laser, okay? One thing one has to be sure, this is completely different technology. Thulium fiber laser is not a thulium laser. This is a pulse laser. There is no cavity in the box. So when you open the box, what you see is there is a one fiber. There is a one fiber laser, which has a diameter of 70 micron. It's a very thin fiber with the internal core of 10 micron. 10 to 13 micron is the internal core. And within that internal core, thulium beads are polluted. It is polluted by the thulium beads. So thulium beads are placed in that internal core. And it is pumped energy by the diodes. There are multiple diodes connected to this wire. Because the diode will produce energy at a very low pressure. This is only 500 watt power can be generated. Then in case of holmium, high power, it can be 10,000 watt. Here it is only 500 watt. So there are multiple diodes connected to this laser fiber, and they will pump the energy to the internal core thulium bead, and the laser energy is produced, and it can come out through the aperture where you can connect a regular laser fiber. Is that clear? So this is how, this is what you can see within that thulium. So thulium fiber laser, there is no cavity like what you have a complex cavity in case of holmium. Okay? And because the energy is produced at the very low pressure, like 500 watt, there is no much heat generated within that box. That's why you don't need a very big cooling device. So there is no big cooling device. Now here you can see, this is a contact system. You can see the laser fiber inside, fiber laser, which is connected to multiple diode. And then once the energy is pumped by this multiple diode to the internal core of this laser fiber, and then the energy will come out through this aperture. So the aperture is also very small because the energy is produced in a very thin core, so that you can connect a very small laser fiber here, right? So this is a surgical laser fiber, this is a fiber laser, and these are the diode. These are the three things in the machine. So it's a very simple machine, very, very simple machine, thulium fiber laser. What is the difference? The water absorption of the thulium fiber laser is 4 times more than the holmium laser. Okay, that is one. And the pulse length of this thulium fiber is 1940, unlike this 2120 in case of holmium laser. But the basic difference what we have to remember is that there is a 4-fold water absorption of the thulium fiber laser. Now I just want to show you that how this is a holmium laser. It can produce energy with more than 10,000 watt. Okay, when you use a low power, it will be about 2,000 watts. When you use a fiber laser, it is almost 500 watt. Okay. Now, what is the difference between the pulse? In laser, the energy is delivered by that pulse, right? What is that laser energy? If you look at the profile, pulse profile of this holmium laser, it is very erratic. Erratic in a sense that sometimes you get a very good power, sometimes you get a less power. While in case of thulium fiber laser, the pulse you can see here, it is square in shape, and there is a continuous uniform energy which is delivered. So 500 watt delivered uniformly. Here 10,000 watt or 2,000 watt, they are erratically delivered to the. That's why this thulium fiber laser becomes much effective. This was a very nice paper presented by Dr. Traxler and his group. And I have taken, so this is courtesy Dr. Traxler. And he has very well explained that if you use a thulium fiber laser, because there is a lot of water absorption, the depth of penetration of this thulium fiber laser is less because energy is completely taken away. And that's why you have to keep this thulium fiber very close to the stone. While in case of holmium laser, slightly keep it away from the stone. Slightly keep it, because then you allow that water bubble to expand and allow some energy to go through that water bubble. Here, you have to be extremely in contact with it. Otherwise, if you keep it very away from the stone or a tissue, the entire energy will be taken away with the water. Even the tissue contains water, so every layer of the tissue contains water. So the moment you touch the tissue also, energy is absorbed immediately, so that it doesn't go much deep. Right? So the tissue penetration is also very less with the thulium fiber laser. So it is speedy. It can produce a very fine dust because the bubbles are also small, and they are, because you can generate the frequency, very high frequency you can achieve. Now, as I said that with the high power holmium laser also, the frequency what you can obtain is 80 only. While I'm sure that some people, company people must have come to you and they must have told you that with the thulium fiber laser, you can increase the frequency up to 2000. But please don't do this. It is for the industrial laser, okay? When we bought this laser machine, even I tried with the frequency of 200, 300. I have not gone beyond 300, but I think that's not the setting, because the settings, somebody asked me that what are the settings, but settings, were not defined at that time. So me including Dr. Professor Traxler, we all started with using zero .2 or 0.3 joule, 0.2 or 0.3 joule and frequency of 100. So when you multiply 100 by 0.3, it comes to 30 watt. That is a power. So even if it is 60 watt laser, please do not exceed your power. Now we say that more than 20 or 22 in a renal stone. And for the ureteric stone, your total power should not exceed more than 10 watt. You do not, especially when you are using a thulium fiber laser. Even holmium also, we do not want to exceed energy, because you don't need a high power laser when you want to manage only and only kidney stones. If you want to have a utility for the tissue, like a HoLEP or ThufLEP or HoLEP or maybe some incision, in that case only you need a high power laser. So you can achieve almost the same result with the low power laser as compared to the high power laser. So in my practice also, in my hospital, private hospital, I have got a 35 watt holmium laser and 60 watt thulium fiber laser. These are the two things I have. In some other hospital, multi-speciality hospital where I go, we have got a high power holmium also, because not only we use, but other specialty people also use this. So the machine becomes cost effective. So that is very, very important. Right? So if you see the comparison between the holmium and the thulium fiber laser, the wavelength is different. It is 2120 in holmium and 1940 in case of thulium fiber laser. The pulse range, you can go up to 3.5 joule to 6 joules in case of holmium. Here also you can go up to 6 joule. But lower down, in case of holmium, you cannot go beyond 0.2. 0.2 joule से कम नहीं जा सकते आप in case of holmium. Here you can go 0.02. Okay? 0.02, up to 0.202 you can go. So you can use minimum energy. When you use minimum energy, there is no fragmentation. Okay? So what are the advantages of the thulium fiber laser? It is 4-fold absorption coefficient is, water coefficient is high. That's why it becomes very, very effective. You can connect a very small laser fiber because the aperture is small. So you can connect up to 100, right now 150 micron fiber is available with the thulium fiber laser. With the holmium, 200 is available. Minimum is 200. Here it is 150, and in future you will use a 50, there will be a 50 micron laser fiber. Why do you need a thinner fiber? Because when there is a thinner fiber, because it has to pass through accessory channel. So when you use a thinner fiber, there will be a great deflection. That is one. Secondly, it will allow more water to go in. When it allows more water to go in, there will be a clear vision. So deflection is better. When clarity of the vision is better, you can go faster. So the speed can also increase. Secondly, by inherent property of the thulium fiber laser, the dust is very, very quick as compared to the holmium. And this machine, you can go up to 0.02, as I said, joule. So you can use minimum energy to prevent a retropulsion. And another thing is that the machine is much, much lighter. It is almost weighing, I think, about 35 kg is the weight of the machine, if I'm not wrong. And so you can move from one operation theatre to another. Sometimes you can carry this machine from one hospital to another. We do not recommend this, but you can do that. I am doing it right now because one of the multi-specialty hospital where they don't have the laser machine, where I want to establish RIRS program. So I am carrying my machine to that hospital almost every alternate day, and then bring back that machine to my hospital and I use it. So third important thing is that it is a soft tissue application also. You can do a incision with the thulium fiber laser, and thulium fiber, because of the property, it is a very coagulative laser. So you can produce a very nice cutting also of the tissue, and it will open up the door of the miniaturization of the scope. Right now we have got a 7.5 French is the minimum. Now if you got a supposing 50 micron fiber available, you can go up to 6.5 French, you can reduce the size of the accessory channel by 1 French. So make a 6.5 French ureteroscope. So smaller the ureteroscope, better is the access to the upper pelvic alyssal system, because sometimes we find it difficult, very difficult to introduce this scope in a non-stented patient. So smaller the scope, better the your approach to the stone, right? So you can do that, and you can, with the minimum energy, you can get a great result with the thulium fiber laser. Practically, I am using this thulium fiber laser in my renal stones. I am really scared to use it in a impacted upper ureteric stone. So when there is an impacted upper ureteric stone, I would not recommend you to use thulium fiber laser at this moment. And if you use the thulium fiber laser, in that case, please do not increase the frequency more than 10. That is most important, because sometimes we believe that if we increase the frequency and it will speed up the procedure. But in that process, when you increase the speed, there you can see there are some sparks produced during the application of the thulium fiber laser. And if the stone is impacted, it can damage the mucosa, and there is very limited space. So the water inflow is less, there is a limited space, there is lot of heating of the tissue. So post-operatively, if you sometimes observe the ureteric wall, there is a blanching of the ureteric wall with the thulium fiber laser. So you have to be extremely careful using thulium fiber laser, especially in a upper ureteric impactor or the impacted ureteric stone. Renal stone, there is lot of space, so you can use it. When you are firing the laser in the ureter, always start from the center to the periphery. Sometimes, if it is an impacted stone, what we do is that we heat the center multiple times, so that sometimes it can produce a hole also in the stone, if it is not a very big stone. And then it will allow some water to go in. Once the water goes in, your vision becomes very clear. And then gradually go from center to the periphery. While in case of a renal stone, grow from periphery to center. And now, whether to produce a fragmentation or dusting, how do I decide? If the stone is up to 1 centimeter in size, sometimes I produce a fragmentation. I fragment into 4 or 5 pieces and take out and do a complete clearance if ureteral access sheath is in position. Most of the times we are using a 9.5 French by 11.5 French ureteral access sheath, which is the smallest available. Okay? So once the access sheath is in, you can go multiple times in the ureter and grab the stone. So for the small stone, I fragment. If the stone is more than 1 centimeter, what I do is, initially I do a dusting, going from periphery to center. Do not try to fragment the stone, otherwise you will keep chasing multiple fragments. So, go from periphery to center, make a large stone into a small stone, and once it is a small stone, you can fragment into 2-3 pieces, because when you go from periphery to center, initially it is very, very easy to produce a fine dust. The moment you go into the nucleus or the hard part of the stone, that time, sometimes it is not possible to produce a kind of a dust you want to produce. So in that case, you fragment the stone in 2-3 pieces, grab it with the basket and call it a day. If it's a very large stone, I do same thing. Initially, I produce a lot of dust, convert that stone into a medium-sized stone. Sometimes, if possible, you can push the stone in one of the calyx and then do a pop dusting. Okay? You can do either a fragmentation, you can do a dusting, or you can do a pop dusting. So what to do for what size stone, this you can do. Now the settings for the holmium laser, if you are using, you already have a holmium laser, low power holmium laser, I think it's fantastic. No need to buy a thulium fiber laser. If you have money, you can buy it, but I think probably it will serve the purpose. So if you got a thulium fiber laser, holmium laser, low power, my settings, usually I start, there are no perfect settings, first of all thing, because all stones are different. Even 1 centimeter stone, all 1 centimeter stones are different, because stone is a 3-dimensional structure. So if it is 10 by 5 by 4, it's a different stone, and if it is 10 by 10 by 10, it is a different stone. So your strategy will change according to the size of the stone. Second is the location. Somebody asked me about the location of the stone, okay, what to do. So for the lower callicial stone, if it is a small stone, I grab the stone and put it into the upper or the middle calyx stone. The idea is to straighten the tip of the scope. Okay? But if it is a large stone, or if the infundibulum is not wide enough to bring the stone out, I can sometimes fragment the stone in the lower calyx and pick it up and put it into the upper calyx, or I can produce a very fine dusting staying there in the lower calyx if I have got adequate approach to the stone. Middle calyx and upper calyx, this is what I do. As I said, small stone I fragment, large stone I produce a dust, and then fragment, a very large stone, dusting, fragmentation, followed by popcorning. When you produce a popcorning, we are talking about the laser settings. So I generally start in the holmium, I start with 0.5 to 0.6 energy. We'll look at the HU of the stone also. If the HU is very high, 1400, 1500, 1700 sometimes you need to increase the energy. But we start with the low energy, 0.5 joule and 15 frequency. Because we are using 200 micron fiber, you cannot increase sometimes you cannot exceed the frequency beyond 12. So 0.5 and 12, so total is a 6 watt you are using. So you don't need much watt. Then supposing if it's not producing effective dusting, in that case I can scale to 0.7. The third parameter which is important is a pulse duration. Now pulse duration in a low power laser, most of the machines have got auto setting. So if you put it on a fragmentation mode, it will produce a very short pulse duration. Short pulse, what is pulse width is the time taken to deliver the energy. So supposing if I want to give X energy, if I give this energy in a very long span, there is an equal distribution of the energy during that long span. So it will not produce a good fragmentation, because it will only produce a dust. But if I shorten that span, immediately I give an energy like a thirst. In that case, it will produce a fragmentation. So pulse width has to be short when you want to produce a fragmentation. When you want to have a fragmentation, you increase the energy to 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, sometimes 1 also. Because more the energy deliver, joule, fragmentation is better. And the frequency is important for the speed. But unfortunately, in a low power laser, you cannot exceed 12 frequency with the 200 micron fiber. If you are using 265 or 273, probably you can go up to 15. Right? In case of thulium fiber laser, now what we have settled is that what I do is that I can use 0.2 or 0.3 joule, and I use frequency up to 15 to 20 maximum if I am using in the kidney. If I am using in the ureter, my frequency will be 10. Then if I am not getting adequate result, then I can scale up my energy from 0.2 to 0.3. Okay, so we are using the laser setting almost what you are using for the holmium. Initially, I will show you 1 or 2 video where I have used 100 or 200 energy, frequency, and then it was producing lot of sparks. And if you dig the stone with the thulium fiber laser, it was producing a lot of carbonization. So you must have seen that some of the workshops that the stone turned black, right? So now I can show you this. Now the effect. For the fragmentation, short pulse, high energy, low frequency. Okay. So this is a small stone. I am breaking it. This is a holmium laser. Okay. So I am planning to produce the fragments. So here you can see that I can produce small fragments, at least 3-4 fragments, and then you can grab it with the basket. This is one of the workshops I was demonstrating during Hyderabad UCCon. You can see there was a large stone. So I am producing a very, very fine dust. This is with the holmium, okay? This is not a thulium laser. You can see very fine dust being produced. Here, what you are using is a long pulse, because you are producing frequency, dusting. You are using low energy, because you don't want retropulsion and breaking of the stone. And the frequency is very high, okay, to speed up the procedure. So these are the settings for the dusting. For popcorning, I use a short pulse, high energy, high frequency. One very important thing about popcorning is that whenever you do not do popcorning in a pelvis, okay? Renal pelvis, don't do that. You have to select a very nice calyx. What do you mean by nice calyx? It should not be very voluminous calyx. Otherwise, stone fragment will fly from one place to another. So you have to have a calyx which is a narrow and shallow infundibulum. So it will stay in that particular cavity. And when you do fire a laser continuously for 2-3 minutes with the settings I have mentioned, in that case, what will happen? And keep the fiber away from the stone. So whatever and then tell your assistant to push the fluid. When you push the fluid, there will be a lot of whirlpool which will be created. And whatever stones will come in contact with the laser fiber, it will break. It will break into finer dusting. Because stone is already broken. Multiple fragments are there. So it will be further fragmented and it will produce a dust. So popcorning per se, I don't like much. There are two reasons. Because then you are tempted to take a very large stone, which we are not prepared to take at this moment. We should not go for 4 centimeter, 5 centimeter size stone. Some people attempt it. But I think it is killing at this moment. Secondly, when the popcorning you are doing, your assistant is pushing the fluid with little more pressure than the usual. So it will raise the intrarenal pressure. When intrarenal pressure goes beyond 40 or 50, in that case, lot of pilovenous, pilotubular backflow will be established. And if the stone is infected, this infected material will go in body and post-operatively you have septicemia or bacteremia. That's why I do not personally like popcorning for majority of the stones, but sometimes I have to do it, I am doing it. But I'm just a word of caution but select a proper calyx, which is most important. Don't try to do popcorning in a pelvis or a very voluminous, otherwise you will not get a result. So this is holmium laser. This I show you the fiber dust lithotripsy. Here you can see that initially we were using 0.2 joule and 50 hertz. And in the second video, the same stone, there is a 0.3, the joule is 0.3 and frequency is there. So total here the energy is 15 watt, and here it is 10. So this is 10 watt power, this is 15 watt power. But now, as I told you, that we have come down to maximum of 20 or 25 frequency in the kidney, which is producing excellent result, and 10 frequency in ureter. So this is my video. This is another patient. Again 0.2 joule and 100. You have to be extremely careful when you are in contact with the mucosa. Okay, when the stone is impacted, you have to be extremely careful. And as I told you, from periphery you go to the center. Try to make a large stone into a small stone. Chase only one stone. The principle is that. Now here you can see that in the one patient, I used both the laser. This is 35 watt holmium laser, 0.7 joule and 15 hertz in the kidney. You can see, you can nibble the stone like this with the holmium laser. That is also producing a very, very fine dust. So in this, and here I am using a thulium fiber laser on this side now. I will just show you. This is thulium fiber laser, 0.2 joule and 100 frequency. Could you see the spark? So this is what is produced when the stone is, when the fiber comes very in proximity with the stone, when it digs the stone and frequency is high, it will produce a spark. And if this spark happens near the ureteric wall, you can assume that what will happen to that ureteric wall. Okay? But in my experience, I have seen that if I keep the frequency below 20, if I keep my fiber just in contact with the stone, and use a low energy, there is no problem with the frequency also with the thulium fiber laser. And that's why I have started using thulium fiber laser in ureter also. But one has to be very, very careful about it. So I think I tried to cover whatever best I could cover for the laser. I think those who have got this RIRS coffee table book, they will find all this detail in that coffee table book. Those who have not that book, I think we are trying to contact with some pharma company, and probably through that the book will be distributed to the doctors. And this is another book which was published, which I edited with along with Dr. Zhang and Dr. Kemal Serika. This is published by Springer. This is also on, and I have written a chapter how to perform RIRS. So friends, I'm done with my talk. And I invite you to this wonderful conference. This is Advancements in Endourology. This is the 6th edition of this meeting. Every 2 yearly we do it, and we perform about 25 live surgeries covering mainly RIRS, PCNL, all type of PCNL, RIRS using all type of scopes and all type of lasers available. Then the holmium, HOLEP, THULEP, THUFLEP. Now we have incorporated even this time we are going to have a Eurolift also, and we have incorporated 2 things from the last time for the pediatric urology. I think I can see one pediatric, very famous pediatric urologist here in the audience. So we invited last time Dr. Teggul for the vesico-ureteric reflux and the deflux injection, and this time also Dr. Teggul is coming. So he will be demonstrating then. Even we'll have most probably pediatric robotic pyeloplasty, which will be performed by Dr. Mohan Gundathi, who will be coming from USA. 99% he has approved his presence. And also we are, because there is a lot of interest among the laser. So we have incorporated this time robotic surgery using all type of robots. Da Vinci robo will be performed most probably by Dr. Gaston from France. There will be live transmission. They are not coming physically. So on Friday we have, because they don't operate on Saturday, Sunday. So Friday we have kept that case in the afternoon. India time would be around 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. And Dr. Alex Motri will be performing partial nephrectomy or a radical prostatectomy using a Hugo robo. So we are incorporating this time robotics also. So I welcome all of you, and those who are actively into endourology and making a lot of videos, I invite them to participate in this competition. For the first time, I had an idea that we want to celebrate the contribution of the people who have contributed a lot in the field of urology, and especially in the endourology and robotics. So these are the people who have done a lot of jobs. So we have named the prize in their name. So we have a prize in the name of Arthur Smith, the best endourology video. Then we have prize for PCNL. We have got a prize in the name of Dr. Mahesh Desai. For the robotic surgery, we have prize in the name of Dr. Mani Menon. For the RIRS, we'll have a prize in the name of Dr. Olivier Trexler. And for the HOLEP, as you know, that all of us know, all the senior people know Peter Gilling very well. So the prize will be in the name of Peter Gilling. So I think you can send your videos to us, and it will be a great opportunity to present in front of almost 600, 700 people who normally participate in our meeting. And secondly, there is a prize attached with these big names. So it will be a great great thing for the person who achieve actually this, they receive this prize. So thank you Pushkar again for a wonderful opportunity to interact with this audience. If you have any questions now, I can take the questions other than the lasers, I think. And if you have got anything I have left out in laser, I can do that. And I have got a small presentation on the robotic video, robotic flexi also. So if you are interested, we can show. Otherwise, if it's we have crossed the time limit, then I think we can call it a day. I can cover it tomorrow also.
The presentation, and then we'll have some questions.
Okay. So it's a very short 5-7 slides only. So. So, many a times a question is asked, do we really need a robo for flexible ureteroscopy? Because robotic is becoming more and more popular. Though the newer technologies are coming at a very high price, government has reduced the rate for every surgery. Insurance company are also pulling our legs now, and they are giving us less money. So, do we really need a robo for this? Does it really serve the purpose? So one thing is for sure, that robo is not doing a surgery. It is you who are doing a surgery, right? And if you are efficient enough or master enough, and if you don't have too much of the workload, you are doing not 5, 7, 10 RIRS in a day. I don't think if you are doing 1 or 2 RIRS in a day, you don't need a robo. First thing is that, because it is expensive, and half of the things are done manually only. Like Da Vinci also, you have to put them, you have to dock the robo, you have to put the ports, everything you have to do it. Once everything is in place, then the robo will start working on your instruction. So the first robotic surgery actually was performed way back in 2007-8, and the first publication was from Dr. Mihir Desai. And they conducted a trial with this robo. This is basically a robo based on master and slave technology. The robo was, there is a robotic arm which was fixed to the patient table, and this was used in a cardiovascular. In a heart surgery it was used initially. So this is that video of that using in the patient with the cardiac surgery. So here the robotic arm is fixed to the side rail of the patient's operation theatre table. Here you can see, and they specifically designed ureteroscope, flexi ureteroscope, goes through that particular you can see the deflection of the scope. And the surgeon, operating surgeon will sit on a console. He will be quite away from the patient. This is a console, operating console. He can watch the surgery here on this console. And there are robotic keys or the joysticks. Here you can see a surgeon playing with the joysticks. And this command goes to the robotic arm. And the flexible scope you can see here. You can see the movement of the flexible tip. So this is just a trial. You can see that it can go into any calyx, like supposing if you assume that this is a calyx, it can pass through any ring. So this robo was used by Dr. Mihir Desai and his group in Nadiyad, and then they have publication. And initially 18 patients were done with this robo, and the results were very, very successful. But unfortunately, this robo never came into the market. So then came an era of then came a robotic Avicenna robo by one Turkish company, Avicenna. This is, the company name is Almed, company name is Almed, and the robo name is Avicenna. So here, this looks like a C-arm actually, right? You can see the flexible scope is fixed here on this robotic arm. And this can be moved by a surgeon sitting here on this console. These are two joysticks. And you can watch the entire surgery. So first step is to put a ureteral access sheath, which is manually done. Then you can docking of the robo is very easy. It can take only 1 minute. And then you can pass the scope. This is all done manually, okay? So it's like putting your all laparoscopy instrument through that robotic laparoscopic instrument through the and here you can fix the scope here. You can pass the laser fiber. So once this is done, the surgeon sits on a console. So this is done by the assistant. Okay. So here comes the surgeon. I had an opportunity to conduct a course in Turkey. I think I did it 2 times actually, once in 2015. Even during one of our advancements in endourology conference, I demonstrated this robotic surgery. They brought the robo here. And once we did it during Jaipur UCCon, along with Dr. Razwiller, I performed this surgery. So here you can see me sitting on that particular robotic console. You want to rest your arms, you can pull it here by pressing the button here, and you can place your arm comfortably. Here you can see that I am not wearing my scrub, no mask, no gloves, even I am wearing my wristwatch. And you can perform the surgery while sipping a cup of coffee also. So this is a pleasure. Now on this monitor, you can have your own setting. This is how you adjust your chair sitting position. You can see my name here, Kandar Parikh, along with the name of other surgeons. And so you can fix this. So next time when you sit, you don't have to adjust because this is how you are comfortable, but you can still change it, no problem. Okay. So here I am performing a surgery in these are the Bulgarian doctors who are watching the surgery. He is Dr. Professor Remzi Seglam. Actually, he is main person behind invention of this Avicenna robo. He is a professor, a urologist, and working in Ankara, Turkey. So here I am performing a surgery. I am watching on a screen, and you can see that I am moving my hands. And with this my hand movement, I can move the scope in the patient's body. So this robo actually, of course, this is when I had my course for the Da Vinci robo in Cornell Institute in 2007. So this is me with my mustache on, actually. And other robotic platforms like Illy Robo has come now, which is much simplified version. It's a French company producing this robo. And this has got a joysticks in the hand. So like you are playing, some kids, they play the video games. and they use the I think, what is that, that box, some box they are using. Xbox or something, yeah, Xbox. So you can, like you are playing a video game, you can move the scope. So this is also, I think, coming in a big way. There are a lot of installation of this robo. And there is one Korean robo, probably you will get an opportunity when you come for AI. One of my Korean colleague who is behind is Dr. Sung Cho, who is a person who is behind the invention of this Korean robo, is coming for our conference. So he can have his presentation also on Korean robo. So these are the robotic thing, but tell you frankly, at this moment, it's not time for us to buy a robo. I think rather we spend for the good scopes, we spend for good laser and accessory. Whenever you do RIRS, one thing is for sure, that please do not compromise for the accessories. Most of the times what happens, we have got only one access sheath, we have got only one basket, we have got only one wire, and then you are stuck up. Do not take a very large stone to begin with. I always tell in my all training course in my hospital, this is a minimal access surgery training institute where we run this RIRS course and endourology courses every 3 monthly. And I think I'm very happy to say that almost 300 plus urologists from our country and neighboring nation have come here in my hospital to learn RIRS, and we had a wonderful time. And I think some people from Kolkata, I know, they also came for the training course for in my hospital. And I always say that RIRS is the easiest operation to learn for a urologist, because it is nothing but an extension of ureteroscopy. Some people counter this when I say so publicly, but I believe that whatever job I can do, you can do equally a good job. My son is also a urologist. Now he is also doing as good flexiscopy as I am doing, though he was not trained by me, but now he is working with me. So when you do about 20-30 cases, if you have got a facility to have a mentor, it is great. You will master this surgery, because it is an extension of ureteroscopy only. So whenever you have a chance to do a ureteric stone, and all of us do a lot of ureteric stone, if possible, if you can backload your ureteroscope, after you finish the procedure, you backload your ureteroscope over the guide wire and examine the intrarenal anatomy. So that will give you a play how to move the scope when you are doing actual case. And I think because most of the technology, when we want to learn, we don't have adequate number of patients. But here there is no dearth. I mean, we have a lot of patients. So we can learn it very fast. And if you have a mentor, I think that is a great thing. So I think, Pushkar, thank you very much. And please feel free to ask me any questions you like. Thank you, dear. Both the things. Frequency, when we increase the frequency, sometimes 100, 200, 300, the fibers, especially for TFL, the fiber wobbles a lot, because the speed is also increased during the surgery. So there will be a lot of dust, the snowstorm effect that will come in the vision, and sometimes you can injure. Second important thing is that when you increase the energy also, and if you are not hitting the stone by mistake because of the respiratory movement, supposing, if you are hitting the stone, hitting the tissue, sometimes it can produce a larger damage as compared to using a low energy. So you have to carefully balance everything, energy as well as the frequency. And please don't, I mean, generally, as I say, that RIRS hardly we can see the complication. The only complications which initially I felt was, for me, was infection. All of us are worried about the infection. So I always tell that please get the urine culture done. If urine culture is positive, do not jump into RIRS. Please cover the patient properly with the antibiotic. If possible, make the urine culture negative and then go in. This is my way of doing it. So because I get a lot of patients from outside, I am referred patients by many of our urology colleagues also. So I always tell them that you please get a urine culture done. If urine culture is negative, only send the patient. Once the patient has come from, supposing, Gorakhpur or maybe South, Hyderabad, whatever, in that case, again, to go back for him is very, very traumatic. So we always make sure that the urine culture is negative. It takes only 2 days. And if culture is negative, we go ahead. That is very, very important. Urine culture has to be negative. During the procedure, tell your assistant not to push the fluid with lot of pressure. It should not increase the intrarenal pressure. If it increases the intrarenal pressure significantly high, post-op infection rate is high. In my hospital, we do a sterilization for all our scopes. I'm sure that most of people do not have this facility. They don't have a plasma sterilizer. So they do a chemical sterilization. So properly wash it and use Parasafe or Sidex, whatever is available to you. But it will not give you a guarantee that you will not have infection. So, or you can go real ETO, because now the scopes are cheaper, so you can have 2, 3, 4 scopes when you buy the scopes. So you can put all the scopes for the ETO. So next day at least 3, 4 scopes are available to you. So if you have 2, 3 cases lined up, you can use it. Only problem with the ETO is the cycle is about almost 8 to 12 hours. So if you have only one scope, you are stuck up, right? So, and secondly, because now the digital scopes are very cheap now, costing somewhere near 70,000-80,000 rupees. But the one problem with the digital scope is that if the vision is gone, it is gone. So during the surgery, supposing if you have used it for maybe 5-7 cases and suddenly you don't see the vision, and if you don't have the spare scope, then you are gone. Unlike the fiber optic scope, where the fiber optic scopes, one fiber is broken, no problem. 5 fibers are broken, no problem. 10 fibers are broken, at least you have vision and you finish the case. Okay, so one has to be very careful. That's why I say do not compromise on the equipment. I believe that I think up to 2 centimeter if you limit, it is good. Upper chelation, middle chelation stones are good. Lower chelation stone, I mean I am doing regularly. But if you don't have any much experience, start with the upper and middle chelation stone. Lower chelation stone, if the anatomy is not very friendly, in that case probably I think you go for a mini piscinal or piscinal for a larger stone. In my practice I do up to even sometimes I do 3 centimeter also, but I always explain to the patient that I might have to go for a relook. So I always explain for the 2-stage procedure, because we don't pre-stent the patient in my hospital. So sometimes even that also is very important to explain to the patient that I am not pre-stenting you. I'll try to go in, because my first step is to do a semi-rigid ureteroscopy. Semi-rigid ureteroscope, and I do it with 4.5 French. Some people do it for 6 French. Then you can assess the ureter. If the ureter is too tight, put a stent and come out. If that is not going, your scope, flexing scope is not going to, and don't try to somehow push the scope or ureteral access sheath in the ureter. Ureter will never forgive you. Okay, and the patient will not then. So you have to be very, very careful. I always tell the patient, because on table if you come out and tell patient that your ureter is too tight, I am not unable to go in, patient will suspect something else. So I always take the patient and take a consent that if I am unable to go, 99 or 95% patients we are through. But 5 patients, especially young male patients, sometimes you might have this problem. Female patients, hardly there is any problem. But in young male patient, I have seen that out of 100 cases, 5-7 cases, we are unable to go in with even a semi-rigid ureteroscope, or it is too tight. I put a stent and come out and then stage the procedure. But even if I am successful, I finish the procedure as much as I can do, and I do up to 60 to 90 minutes maximum for a larger stone. And if I am taking more time, I stage the procedure. But I have already explained to the patient that large stone, if you want to go for RIRS, you have to be ready for 2 stage. Or maybe sometimes 3 stage if I have to stand. And most of the people get convinced because they don't want a puncture in the kidney. Okay? Yes.
Why it is, my understanding this is a disposable fiber, can't reuse it.
I think this company people, they have come out with this fiber in that manner only. They want to make money because they have invested this lot into this Moses technology. So they are
is there any specific reason why it cannot be reused?
I have no idea about it. I have no idea about it.
Sir, do you go for dilatation of ureter in primary RIRS?
Yes. I actually, it's a, sometimes it becomes controversial when I say, but in my practice, I always found, I mean, I'm sure that all of you also have the same problem, that Indian ureters are really, really narrow. They are not as big as what we find in the Western world. So sometimes even 4.5 French or 6 French ureteroscope does not go, or even if it goes, it is too tight. And sometimes you will find that the UVJ is very narrow. Tomorrow I will demonstrate. In fact, I have got a lot of video on that. So I thought that probably tomorrow we'll have a lot of video presentation, and even during the on table, whenever I insert my semi-ureteroscope, I make assessment about the ureteric orifice. It's my visual assessment. I have divided into three parts, small, medium and large, which I have mentioned in my RS book also. If it is small ureteric orifice, as per my experience, it will require a dilatation. Without dilatation, nothing will go in. If it's a medium size or large size stone, then ureteric orifice, then probably it will walk in. So if it doesn't go, but the rest of the ureter is okay in my 4.5 French ureteroscopy. That's why I'm using 4.5 French ureteroscope. So in that case, I dilate with the balloon. Some people use a Teflon, serial Teflon dilator. I have a very bad experience with the Teflon dilator because sometimes it can produce a trauma to the ureter. So I am not recommending it. I started using it because one of my friend was using, and I thought that why not to, it saves money also. So I started using it, but one or two cases I was not very happy. So I do a balloon dilation of the ureterovesical junction and the UVJ, ureterovesical junction in the ureteric orifice, and then I am able to go in. Sometimes I may not be able to put a ureteral access sheath. My preference is to put a ureteral access sheath because I want to produce a complete clearance and reduce the intracranial pressure when I am operating. But sometimes you are not able to put a ureteral access sheath. Fine, no problem. Then you backload the ureteroscope over the guide wire and then finish the procedure and put a stent and come out. Right? So I have not seen any strictures because one of the conference, in European conference, they said that the balloons are for the birthday, not for the ureter. So that was a statement made one of my friend, and people laughed at it, and people say that yeah, you are right, you should not use a balloon. Yes, I don't recommend to use a balloon in the upper ureter or the middle ureter. For the UVJ, no problem. Yeah. So it's the most trickiest situation. Horseshoe kidney, there are four problems. One, the UPJ is not at the ureter, there is high insertion of the ureter. That is one. Secondly, the space is less. Third, the lower calyx opens medially. And the fourth problem is that there is a lot acute angle like this. So entering into the lower calyceal stone in a horseshoe kidney is a big challenge. You should be expert enough and you should be frank enough to tell to the patient that I will try. I have done many cases actually. I am referred by so many of my colleagues. Sometimes I am not even successful doing it. So we just explain to the patient that we have to understand our limitations also. We cannot, somehow don't be a hero and somehow you try to finish the procedure. I don't want that thing. I don't want complication. Simple. Okay, Pushkar? Sir.
Yeah. I think if there is no other question, we should stop here. Tomorrow we will have a lot of discussions, videos, and thank you very much for a very interesting talk. And we have learned many things from this, particularly the talk on lasers. There are many things to be known because we just use it. We don't know what is the physics behind. It's very important. And just one observation, that what is your experience in lower calyceal stones, RIRS, whether it is a thulium or a holmium, which one is better?
For practically now in my all patients, renal stone patient, I use thulium fiber laser. Holmium, I usually do it for, supposing if I want to produce a fragmentation, because thulium is not a good fragmentation laser. So if you want to use it for PCNL, you will be frustrated because it will produce a dust that you don't want, because in PCNL you want to do a complete clearance on table. So most of the people, they don't use thulium fiber laser for PCNL. MPUH Nadia, they are using thulium fiber laser also for the PCNL. But most of the consultants who are using thulium fiber laser, they are not using it for the PCNL. For the lever calyx, I do either use a holmium or laser. My results are almost equivalent because my strategy is very simple. It's a small stone pick it up and put it into upper calyx. So the upper calyx, the lower calyxal stone have now become a upper calyxal stone or middle calyxal stone. So my clearance rate cannot be different from for the lower calyxal stone and the upper calyxal or middle calyxal stone. If it's a large stone, then there is a problem, because sometimes you are not in a position to take it out. In that case, you have to either initially produce a dust. Once you produce a dust, there is a little bit of compromise in the vision. Still, if you get away from that, then you fragment the stone, pick up, put it into the upper calyx or middle calyx, and then do as if you are doing upper calyx or middle calyxal stone. So my results are very good even for the lower calyxal stone. Whether I use a holmium laser or thulium laser, it is a personal choice. I don't think it makes any difference into it, sir.
Thank you. Any?
If I want to buy a laser, the initial part of the stone and every stone. So which you want to buy?
So when you say that it's a fresh urologist or a new urologist who is just starting the practice, it all depends on your financial status. Supposing if you are having lot of money, you can buy a thulium fiber laser also, which can again use for both renal stone and the kidney stone, and you can use it for even a soft tissue also. So 60 watt laser if you buy, that is costing I think somewhere close to 45 lakh rupees. If you buy a holmium laser 35 watt, if you don't have a lot of money and you don't want to use it for the prostate, buy a 35 watt holmium laser from any company you like. I think the range will be from 18 lakh rupees to 23 lakh rupees. So it will not be, it will be cost effective for you. So whether, it all depends on what money, how much money do you have. If you have got money, then you buy even thulium fiber laser by IPG is available, it's a 35 watt laser. But I think the cost would be, I don't know what is the cost, but it should be around 40 lakh rupees or 35 lakh rupees. So it is expensive, thulium fiber laser. And thulium fiber laser, as I said, there is no cavity. So we don't know, supposing one diode fails, supposing, it's an electric thing, right? Supposing one diode fails, what will you do? Well, can you change the diode? No company will change the diode, because the circuit is so intricate that if they try to disconnect that wire from that laser fiber, the machine will be gone. So you have to change the entire assembly. It means that you are changing the entire machine, because the machine is what? Only that plate. Right? There is no cavity. Like in holmium laser, there is something wrong with the cavity. You can replace the cavity for 5 lakh and the machine will go on. Here you have to change the entire machine. So nobody knows about the maintenance, but they say that the life of your diode is probably more than your life. So you are fine. That's what they say. But something can go wrong, you have to completely change the machine.
Thank you. And if the organizers agree, should we stop here? Or is there any more questions? I don't know. Thank you.
Sir, I would request the chairpersons to come forward again. I would request Dr. Anurag to present a bouquet to Professor Dr. Deka. Dr. Kostov to present bouquet to Dr. P.K. Mishra.
And I would request Pushkar sir to give the bouquet to Parik sir, please. And Pushkar sir, please.
Mr. Hostel for organizing such a lovely
একটু পিছিয়ে আসুন আপনি
Can we have an entire group photo with all of us? Please, sir. Please, sir. Photo. No.
Ready? Smile.
Thank you, everyone.